Hello, people. It's the Seattle Overload podcast. We're back again, and we've got a mock draft. We've also got, as you'll see, from maybe the best thumbnail that we've collectively done of all time. That we're going to talk about wallpapers. Very exciting. And there's also press conference takes. And starting off hot, Fats McClure. Thank you so much for the donation, Fats. You're always supporting the show. We massively appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm still upset about the new guy Mom brought home, and will continue to find fault with whatever he does until he buys me an 8080 and a snowspeeder. Do you say 8080 or at?
I say AT-AT.
Yeah, there we go. That is why we are friends.
So Fats, you're nice. True. Fats, so you're saying you can be bought. I know you might like your new dad. We'll like don't be so sour about the whole thing.
Yeah, it could come out good. Like maybe you mentioned the 8080 and it turns out he likes Star Wars. I mean, he's probably of an age where Star Wars was a thing.
Yeah.
So
be like, hey Mike, or whatever his name is. Hey Mike, do you want to play some catch? Do you want to have a catch?
Yeah.
And then
be like, hey Mac, can you help me get my swing right? Yeah.
Matty, did you play Star Wars Battlefront?
Yes.
Like the original one on Xbox?
No, I was a bit young for that. And kind of on that theme of being young, and I want to hear how the original Battlefront was. But on the theme of being young, Star Wars Battlefront 2 was probably a 12, maybe a 15. I don't know.
What do you mean?
Like the rating for the game, like the violence level.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
We have a different rating scale.
But... Yeah. We have Peggy. Anyway, it would have been mature, I think, maybe.
No way. No. Because it was rated T for teen here.
Okay, teen, right, teen. So obviously, when I saw that game, I'd been playing Lego Star Wars, really enjoying that, sure. And so,
classic.
Yeah, absolute classic. So then I saw, wow, Star Wars Battlefront 2 looks cool. I don't know how I found it, but I was just, because pretty early internet for like me, especially being quite young at the time. I must have been like 8, 7. Anyway, and I knew my mum wouldn't let me get it. I just knew she wouldn't. But her Amazon account was logged into the computer, but obviously I didn't know her card details. But Amazon at the time, no free ads. They had this thing called a one-click buy. And I was like, there's no way that one-click buy is actually one-click buy. There's just no way. Like, that's a cool technology, but there's no way. So then what happened was I tried what clicking your mouse did on one-click buy, and it purchased the game. But the game got delivered to some family friends, which then must have inspired quite an awkward conversation. But long story short, I ended up playing Star Wars Battlefront 2 through. So the lesson there is...
don't give your kids access to...
Steal from your parents, yeah.
Don't steal from your parents. Hold up, though. So wait. Well, why didn't it deliver straight to your house? Why did it go
Well, this is the thing. One-click buy, obviously I was very unfamiliar with the feature. Didn't think that it would actually be a one-click buy. But it worked where I imagine if I'd been a bit smarter, you could have changed where it's delivering to on the thing. But I think back then it was quite early in its stages. I think it just went to the last person you'd given, like, had a present or whatever delivered to, and they would have been the last people who my mum had like sent something via Amazon towards.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. I don't even think I was cognizant of Amazon's existence until like late middle school, high school. And I don't think I ever used it till late high school.
Well, there is a slight age gap between us. I mean, it could have been around the same time that we both got into it.
But
maybe my mom just left it open, and I was like, hey, I can play on the computer now. And
I remember Battlefront 2 came out in 2005 December, I think, because I was in 5th grade. And it was just like the most amazing thing, most amazing experience.
Yeah.
Like I was 11.
So what was good about 1 compared to 2?
One just had, I mean, honestly, the play style was fairly similar. One just had different maps. So those maps are iconic that stick out in mind, like Bespin, Cloud City, Yavin 4.
Oh yeah, that sounds great. Yeah.
Classic. But then I really liked Utapau on Battlefront 2. That map was great.
Which one was that?
The one where the clones, where they surprised the city with the levels you descend down. You
Oh
don't
yeah,
descend down the game,
yeah.
but
That was awesome.
you're making me want to rewatch some shitty Star Wars prequel movies.
It was so upsetting how badly. Like I knew they were going to mess it up, but the next gen, it's not next gen anymore. But how badly they messed up, like my pronunciation there or just speech. But they messed up the new one. They absolutely butchered it.
Did they? I enjoyed it.
No.
I enjoyed it. It doesn't have the same magic.
Yeah,
Because
but
video
I think
games have
maybe I've
lost
just got
magic
older.
for me anyway. Yeah, it's very possible. Video games have lost magic for me anyway.
Yeah, they've lost their allure.
I need to rekindle that fire somehow.
Now you just watch Shogun and stuff like that.
Yeah, yep. Will Gregg, you asked, Griff, have you been watching The Bad Batch? I have seen the first two or three episodes of the latest season. And listen, I'm not going to rest as a Star Wars fan until the Delta Squad their fate has been completely made unambiguous. Unambiguify.
So is this a boycott at the writing?
No, I just want that story to be told. They were going to make Imperial Commando. I still wish they would. That game, if they made kind of a more serious kind of tone of a game, that game would kill. I don't know why they won't make that game, but we know that what's his face, Scorch, is alive because he kind of has cameos in Delta Squad or in Bad Batch, but then they don't really give him any real lines. I think that he's more of an Easter egg than anything. I think they're trying to leave that open-ended. So if they do end up writing a Delta Squad story and they want to change it, they can say, that actually wasn't Scorch. Matt, I know this is really interesting, but I want to know what happened to Boss. I want to know what happened to Scorch, the real Scorch. I want to know what happened to Fixer. I want to know what happened to Sev. Is Sev alive? I don't understand. I would feel like Sev would be the ultimate like reveal in Bad Batch. Like, who's this guy? Comes out of the shadows and he's been on the run this whole time, kind of like Jason Bourne type of situation. And I feel like they could totally weave him into the story and do something interesting. Anyway.
Okay. Yeah, great. Now, back to the podcast. In fact, thank you for the donation. Back to the podcast. Quick update. So, a mysterious AI company, when I Googled them, their AI company has managed not just to give us a copyright like notice on our video, which usually would mean we can't monetize it, which fine. Like, we don't technically own the footage. I mean, we can get into fair use. I think we're adding some value, some commentary, significantly change the content with annotations, etc. All right, anyway. But not only have they done that, but there's a new thing on YouTube which is blocking things. So they've just blocked it, so no one can see our safeties video. So that's great. If you do want to watch that, I put it on the YouTube. There's a Twitter broadcast of it. I've also downloaded the raw file, so I should be able to put it somewhere, because I know some of you don't use Twitter, and I don't know how accessing the Twitter broadcast works if you don't have a Twitter account anymore. So yeah, I'm sorry about that. Obviously, I would like our safeties episodes to all be up on YouTube. Something we need to look at could just be, I mean, they flagged the Ohio State, whatever team. It could be Ohio State are like, oh, we're really upset. The two Seattle podcasters are watching our tape. How dare they? I don't know.
What are they worried about?
I know, it's ridiculous. Anyway, so that's just an update on the last podcast. It does exist. Apologies on. Well, I'm not apologizing. I'm apologizing for the nothing. Right, Griff, are you ready for this podcast now? That was a good preamble.
It was good. Hit it, Matty. Hit it.
Why do you always laugh when we do that? You're laughing at thanking the overloaders.
No, I just nothing.
Okay. Great. Welcome to the Seattle Overload podcast, where Griffin and I are back with our second Seahawks 2024 NFL mock draft session. A mock draft session. That is difficult to say at 3:45 a.m. Before that, though, and we're going to hope to be less bad than we were last time when Griff was really kind of ranting about being realistic and it got messy and we ended up taking I didn't post the graphic because I thought it would look pretty shabby, but maybe I'll post it next time. But anyway, before that, we have some Seahawks news, massive news out of the Virginia Mason Athletic Center. Really kind of traumatic stuff. It's made the national news. The Rich Eisen show has takes on this, but Leonard Williams in his press conference, which he did yesterday, we're recording this on a Thursday night, he reported that there are empty walls in the hallways and that the Seahawks are obviously going to respect tradition, but they're wanting a clean foundation of what we want to be. They're not chasing anything that's happened and want to create their own identity, create their own slogans, create their own mantras, and they're kind of working out what type of team they want to be. And then, he clarified that some pictures have been taken down. Griff, this has been made into such a massive deal, and it seems kind of crazy to me. Do you have a differing take on this?
No, it's a non-story. I had a knee-jerk reaction of are they? I don't know. Are they trying to? I didn't take it as them saying forget about it. It's entirely like a productive thought process behind it. No, you got to earn your own keep and stuff. I don't know. I don't really care. I just don't care. Whatever. I thought about it. I had a 0.2 of a second knee-jerk reaction, oh, that sounds kind of sad, and then I was I don't really care. And they don't care either. Whatever.
I know it's a bit of a weird time to be reading into it so much as well. There's Seahawks draft stuff.
Mike Macdonald hates Pete Carroll.
Right. There's stuff we can be talking about which is more interesting, but I guess it's they had lots of pictures of different great moments over the last 14 years of Pete Carroll's era. It's now a new team. It makes absolute sense that you get rid of that. Mike Macdonald, if you want him to be a good head coach, has to establish his culture. Sounds like that's underway. And then John Schneider goes on the radio on his radio show with Wyman and Bob, and he mentions how they're going more digital. They're going to have TVs up to celebrate team history and, show all types of the team eras, not just the Pete Carroll era. And they're just looking to make their own history and their own slogans and leadership models, which is how any NFL head coach operates when they take over a franchise. It's just, I guess, in Seattle, it's been quite a few years since that's happened, since we've seen a new head coach in Seattle. And so I guess it's shocking in that way, and maybe everyone's dealing with this transition differently in the fan base, so I get it from a certain point, but also you have to remove yourself from that emotion and think, okay. Now also on that topic of kind of the past being gone, I do while Pete Carroll and his culture is all about letting people be themselves and being the best version of themselves, and that's all of the culture stuff that he preaches and practiced, right? It was interesting, for instance, hearing former players like Marshawn Lynch last October when he was on Shannon Sharp's Club Shay Shay. Is that the podcast?
That's right.
When he was saying about how, in his view, that Pete Carroll was trying to chase and rebuild the team that he had with the Legion of Boom, and how he wasn't building individuals to be the greatest players that they could be. He was sort of got in his own mind that he wanted guys to be a Michael Bennett or be a Marshawn Lynch, which that doesn't just apply to Pete Carroll. It, when they did their post-draft press conferences and LJ Collier, and they're trying to paint a picture to the media assembled, but when they say that they don't directly compare him to Michael Bennett and go, he is a like for like, but they mention Michael Bennett as the dude, when we were like, well, actually, I don't actually know if he can do much of the inside stuff or be, he might, he kind of gets pigeonholed into maybe an unfair expectation. You can extrapolate that, you can interpret that, you wonder, maybe they actually did take that too far behind the scenes in the draft room and all that stuff as well. But Marshawn's saying, if you groom that guy to be the best Tim, then you can probably give yourself a better chance. Anyway, it just made me think back to that quote from Marshawn Lynch. It's a new era now. We'll never know how much Lynch's opinion was accurate, but certainly someone worth paying attention to, given his cultural significance to the team, his leadership qualities in his unique way. And then, it's all gone. And they'll build some new memories, some new cultures, some new slogans. Remember, Mike Macdonald's coming from a Baltimore franchise where they have play like a Raven, and he said as much that that's kind of what he wants to do in Seattle, but it can't be the exact same because it has to be, well, why do we think that is? Because it has to be an organic thing. You can't just build a culture overnight. So it's important, but he's also a young head coach where he'll have an idea about what football he wants to play, about what his philosophy is, but he hasn't gone through the experiences that Pete Carroll had when he was in his second attempt at being an NFL head coach. When he came back to Seattle, he'd been through the tough periods. He's spoken about how he needed that stuff to then find who he was as a person, come up with his own philosophy, go to USC, and then come back to Seattle. And that's when always compete became a real thing at USC and then in Seattle. So,
yeah.
Anyway, so we spent like nearly 10 minutes on that, but it was a big story. Like I said, it made national news. I get people are upset about it, but they really need to.
I can't stop thinking about it, Matty. It's consumed my mind.
It's just strange to me that that's the moment. Like, how is that the moment?
There's some symbolism there, but like someone else mentioned, like there's memorabilia and visuals all over the place. It was just one hallway, and like is whatever.
Yeah,
I get it. He's not being disrespectful to the past or anything. It's just a motivating tactic. Like you got to earn your own keep. You earn your own space on the wall. He's not saying screw the LOB. Like, let's not. I mean, John Schneider was part of that. I mean, like the huge elements of the legacy of that team is still in the building. In fact, like most of the personnel of the staff in the VMAC was there still. So it's not like it's not as though like why would Mike Macdonald trample all over John Schneider? You know what I mean? And his whole staff. Like it's just wanting the players to embrace the newness for the sake of it. It's not a problem. But am I pissed? Yes.
Yeah.
I'm ticked off, Matty.
You seem mightily ticked off.
Yeah. I do have thoughts about the Marshawn quotes, but whatever. Doesn't matter.
You do have thoughts?
Yeah, but we want to do a mock draft, so it doesn't matter.
No, go on. Just how about you do your thoughts?
See,
on
with all these things, I think it's like results-based analysis, and I think the players are guilty of it, especially whenever they diminish, like from 15 to 16 to 17, whatever. And then the players that are interviewed, the Wickersham articles, the athletic articles, whatever, and they say how, they lost their culture of accountability. They lost their edge. They lost this or whatever. And it's like, did you really? Or did the roster just lose a guy and then lose that guy? Then did the results directly reflect the aggregate talent? The 2014 defense.
And you have to have a way of, rationalizing that in your head or explaining that,
Yeah,
like,
true. Like
we could have done it, but we kind of just lost our edge, and it's not necessarily
Yeah.
and I'm not saying this is Marshawn Lynch, but some of the other players and their reflections on stuff. But it's not necessarily we could have done it, but it wasn't really our fault. But other stuff happened that caused that to happen.
Yeah.
Um,
Like the 2015 season, they talk about how like their response, how there was a cultural response and to the Super Bowl loss. It's like I think they're mistaking the chicken for the egg. I think you have a cultural response that is a reflection of being slightly not as good as the previous season, but then you're conflating that whatever mentality that yields as the cause for why you were slightly less good. It's like compare the 2014 defensive roster to the 2015 roster. There's attrition. That's why you went from the first best defense to the fourth or whatever the hell. Like that's why. It's not because you couldn't get over the Super Bowl loss. Like that's not why. It's because you lost D-line depth and then you lost that corner and then you had an injury at linebacker for a little bit, and those things add up. Like that's why you. The
well, and
2016
Marshawn in
defense,
that same interview did theorize that if they'd won two, that some guys may have not actually wanted to get paid what they'd have wanted, and they might have spread it around more, which is a nice thought, but I doubt that.
It's all revisionism. And the same thing, like John Ryan with his Quinn. I know he made up with Julian Love, right? But he said, "Wow, they really lost their way." At the same time, I wonder, doesn't that notion of losing your way conflict with people saying they couldn't move on? They couldn't move on. Aren't these two notions in conflict?
Of course.
What just happened is that there's the roster that doesn't have 5 Hall of Famers on it. That's what happened.
Well, and not only that, but they drafted very, very poorly. Like their drafting, after those few years was very poor.
Yeah, I mean
and you can get into why those guys failed. Like maybe they'd have been good players. Maybe there was that thing of them not wanting to take the jobs of legendary players, but they just crapped the bed.
That period from like 13 to 19, the drafts were very poor, and then even like their hits left in free agency is the other thing. And I don't think those are necessarily bad moves, but anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, still got the same general manager, by the way. Right. On the subject of John Ryan, he's signed a 1-day contract to retire as a Seahawk. So that's cool for him.
Great.
Long-time Seahawks punter John Ryan signed a 1-day contract with the Seahawks in order to retire as a member of the team. That's John Boyle of Seahawks.com, their senior reporter. Ryan spent 10 of his 12 NFL seasons in Seattle. He was also signed to Green Bay by Reggie McKenzie and John Schneider. But Schneider was involved with that as well, I think. So,
Matty, I'm sorry. I just the whole hallway poster thing. I can't.
No, I know. But John Ryan was on one of those posters, Griff. I think his legendary touchdown pass.
Wouldn't it be funny if the hallway posters were nothing but John Ryan, Stephen Hauschka, and Clint Gresham?
Yeah, like we allow special teams, but defense, no. You have to earn your way. But special teams doesn't matter.
Throw in Heath Farwell and Chris Maragos for good measure. Just the try-hard special teamers and the kickers. Wouldn't that be so funny? Okay.
Yeah. No. We
already hit it, but we got to.
The first, you keep talking over me.
I'm sorry. I won't do it again.
The first Seahawks game I saw was the game where John Ryan face planted and broke his nose against the Rams.
That was very funny.
I think he was going to score, and then he was like, "Oh my God, I'm going to score! Oh no, I've just managed to fall over running and face planted and broke my nose."
Yeah,
Griff. Another thing which upset you a lot actually was Cigargate. You were very upset about that at the time.
Was I?
Yeah.
I thought John.
I'd say like on a level of not quite as upset as you are about the posters, but you're getting there.
Oh, yeah. I was upset then. as much as my toe hurt the other last week.
Right. It was a serious pain.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
transition.
yeah, so that's cool that Julian Love made a joke about the cigars and everything's good. So yeah, good for John Ryan. He was a punter.
Was he a top lad or a top bloke?
I don't know. I feel like you could have a beer with him. You know?
Oh, easily.
Well, you Americans, you like to say have a beer with, but
you guys say have a pint, right?
Pints.
Pints.
Yeah. Anyway,
What?
kind of crazy how punting's evolved from like John Ryan to these Aussie rules, amazing Australians who can like just punt better.
Yeah. I wonder. We'll probably see more and more transitioning there, right?
You would think. Okay. Final thing of Seahawks stuff. Well, actually, there's two things, but final kind of tidbit. Is that an expression you're familiar with?
Yeah, tidbit, absolutely.
Nice.
Tidbit originated.
Geno Smith tweeted out the
17th
2024.
Century. Sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
No, tidbit. It dates back to the 17th century. Tid as in tender.
I said tit.
Oh,
that could be tender.
We do TID to keep it PG. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, transitioning on. Geno Smith tweeted out the 2024 off-season fastest man of the Seahawks. DK Metcalf, who you would think would be up there, his name absent from this list. But the fastest Seattle Seahawk was Geno Smith himself, the 33-year-old quarterback running 21.67 miles per hour, beating out Rick Woolen's 21.53 mile per hour time. That's crazy.
I like seeing Jackson up there. That's cool. He's working on speed. See, the thing though is that this is just the fastest speed at any given point. It's not like sustained. So
well, is it? We don't actually know anything about this.
No, you're right. We don't.
Did they have a race?
But like, no human being is sustaining 20 miles per hour over like.
Speak for yourself.
20 yards. Like it's like their top speed within. I don't know.
Well, of course.
I'm talking out of my ass right now, but
you kind of are, yeah.
That's my favorite thing to do.
Right. But yeah, did they have a race or did they do like just sprint? You know,
like were they actually do? Maybe you could be right. I was assuming it was like practice or scrimmaging.
But why? Yeah, if it is practice, why is your red-shirted quarterback running 21.67 miles per hour? And this is like the off-season before they've even done. They haven't even installed anything really. They're still talking through stuff with the QBs, but the defense interviews, which happened today, they're speaking like they don't know anything about the defense and they've just talked culture.
Yeah, true that.
So I don't know. We don't know how it was measured. Geno didn't enlighten us on that, but he is the fastest man. Now, what also stands out to me is Patrick O'Connell. Now, not a maybe the first name you'd think of when you talk Seahawks defense, but the linebacker ran 20.71 miles per hour, so not even a whole mile per hour slower than his starting quarterback and Rick Woolen.
Well, if you think about it, though, if they ran for a whole hour, they'd be a full mile behind.
Right, because as we've covered, when you hit your top speed, you just keep going and going.
Right.
But O'Connell's kind of a sneaky name that I'm keeping an eye on, and that's not just based off the fact that he ran a fast time in a test that we don't actually understand. He was an undrafted free agent in 2023, played at a small school in Montana. He turns 26 December 31st, so he's 25 right now. And he was impressive in the preseason. Like, he looked good in the preseason. He got some very limited playing time in regular season, got credited for one tackle. but he might be a player, and I don't know if anyone's a Mike linebacker right now. I know he was working in as the Mike, but he's light. But everyone seems to be. He's probably like 230 pounds right now. But it's just another thing to go, oh yeah, Patrick O'Connell can kind of run fast, and he'll be battling Dodson for that position. So
yeah, right.
Monjombo asking, Matty, do you interpret anything from the fact that they signed Drake Thomas instead of just elevating Patrick O'Connell last season? I think that's just likely Thomas's experience on NFL special teams over O'Connell in regular season games as well. And just experience in general. Yeah, I wouldn't read too much into that. Now, you also, Griff, you got excited about Jonathan Sutherland running a 20.94 mile per hour time. What do you like about Sutherland?
I think we liked Sutherland last August for the preseason, him playing like big nickel safety. And he really stuck his neck out there in run defense, like was a serviceable player. I don't remember too much of what we saw or didn't see in coverage. Maybe there's something there, but it was still, he definitely stood out and was intriguing. So I don't know what all do you recall from him?
Yeah, it was just kind of solid, hard hitter. They were playing him like a big nickel, and he was playing some strong safety. But I remember when Jamal Adams was absent from camp, Sutherland was the one getting all of the reps as that in that kind of big nickel package and role, and he may have played some dime also. When you get 6 DBs on the field, so playing like the wheel in dime, so the weak side linebacker. So I wonder, he could be a sneaky guy to. Well, he's an undrafted free agent last year. Maybe he makes the team this year, but he was also a type of player who Pete Carroll kind of mentioned unprompted, and then all the buzz out of camp was about him. And yeah, let's see if he can. He's 25 now. Let's see if he can put together a good second off season and make the active roster. He's obviously got a very tightly contested group. He's not that tall type. I think he's 5'11". But they do need a big nickel. There's definitely an opportunity at big nickel.
Yeah, I mean, as much as we like want them to target safety, I really am intrigued by the depth between Jarek Reed, Sutherland, and honestly, I'm not out on Kobe. There could be viability there, and I would like to see if in time one of those guys rise to the top and actually factor in. You don't always feel that way about your depth, right? So, but I like the tools there. At least I'm curious to see what their limits are.
There you go. I am also curious, and I mean, hopefully we're able to get the preseason tape again. But I'm going to be watching that intently, just for so many things to keep an eye on. New scheme, both sides of the ball, all these different kind of players who are fighting for roster spots, and so many guys not under contract after 2025 is going to be intense, and a lot of positions where there isn't necessarily a clear guy, like, there's projected starters, but there's not the dude at a lot of these roles, so interesting. Right. Oh, one bit of other Seahawks news. Brady Henderson of ESPN reporting Laken Tomlinson's 1-year deal, which was initially came out as up to $4 million, up to, as ever, doing a lot of the work there because it's actually only a $1.21 million base value with only $500,000 guaranteed, and then up to $2.79 million in incentives. Brady with all the incentives, which are some playing time stuff, playoffs, divisional round, Pro Bowl. Obviously, for him to do the playing time stuff, he needs to beat out Ankrum and maybe a draft pick and all that stuff. So, and if he's done that, then he easily earned the $1.29 million, which is for 90% playing time. Right. Make sure you check out that Brady tweet. Right. Before we do our mock draft, Griff, we had a shake-up. So typically, ahead of the draft, we get to hear from the Seahawks head coach, which was Pete Carroll, who was also president of football operations, and the general manager, John Schneider. But with Carroll gone, Mike Macdonald in the building, we've had Schneider, who's now the president of football operations, doing his weekly radio show with Wyman and Bob. And Mike Macdonald has not been in the media as much. And instead of their pre-draft press conference being head coach and GM, we had front office guys up there, which was unusual. We had 4 of them. We had assistant general manager Nolan Teasley, vice president of player personnel Trent Kircher, senior director of player personnel Matt Berry, and director of college scouting Aaron Heinlein. So, Griff,
Yep.
anything stand out to you here? I've picked out a few quotes which did for me, but did you have any big takeaways from this? I saw you got upset about one comment.
No, not really. I mean, I was just being histrionic on Twitter.
No, not allowed.
Well, I'm going to do it again anyway. They mentioned, like, they once again, like, emphasized, like you can say anything to, like, speak well of a player you signed and not really say what you think about their entire picture, their entire package, right? But they went out of their way.
You don't want to talk about players' package?
Hey, to each their own. But they once again went out of their way to emphasize that they think Dodson is, like, really good at coverage. And I just want to know, I wish you could back him to the corner and be like, what precisely are you referencing when you say that? Because these terms are such large buckets, right? It can mean anything. But I'd really like to know, like, what are you really pointing to? Or is it just, GM speak, coach speak, whatever, later on, they did say how they don't pay attention to PFF grades. They don't like the grades. And so we had thought, like, are they just looking at Dodson's 91 coverage grade and going like, oh, he's good in coverage? I mean, surely they have to actually watch the players. But beyond that, they just kind of gave, there's some things to pick apart, right? But they kind of gave non-answers, some insight. But it was cool to see those 4 faces up there. Matty, what did you think?
Yeah, well, let's dive into the linebacker comment, because you quote tweeted it with "Please say psych." So this is Nolan Teasley's comment. He was asked about the linebacker position by, I believe, Bob Condotta of the Seattle Times. He responded, "We got 2 good athletes. Both have had the opportunity to wear the green dot. Dodson with Frazier, Coach Leslie Frazier in Buffalo, who's now the Seahawks assistant head coach." So you talk about communication. Again, you talk about athleticism. You talk about coverage awareness. And again, the athlete, they've put that on full display. And Dodson's also had value in the kicking game. So yeah, we're pleased with where that position group is. And we've got some young depth, field players that we're excited about too. I mean, it's kind of a whole bunch of nothing. It was interesting how much coverage came up, though, in this presser. There's 2 other quotes where I think it's mentioned also, which we'll look at.
Yeah.
But I guess Dodson did a variety of coverages, a variety of zone drops in his career at Buffalo, even though he didn't play that often. And, he's comfortable pedaling, he's comfortable setting up when the QB does. The issues were, like, stuff behind him, which maybe they think they can coach up. Also, if the price is right, the price is right, and he's physical coming downhill, he can run and hit. But yeah, they're nowhere were they asked about Jordan Brooks, and nowhere did they say he's Jordan Brooks, Griff. So you don't need to get too upset about this one.
I can't believe they insulted Jordan Brooks, Matty.
Right. So moving on.
They might as well have taken down all the Jordan Brooks posters all over the VMAC with that comment.
Yeah. I don't think he'd have actually earned a poster, Griff.
Yeah, you're right. But go ahead, continue. We'll let that slide.
So this whole thing was very much like front office scout brain, GM brain, right? It was so, which makes sense because that's their position, but it really kind of highlighted that I am more of the coaching brain mindset rather than the scout/GM brain. So Mike Dugard of The Athletic asked Aaron Heinlein, the director of college scouting, about, it was basically I think it was to do with like linebackers and safeties, and that how that is coming from college and how different the college defenses are to the NFL, and if that's a thing. And Heinlein responded, I don't think it really, I guess maybe they're adapting earlier than we are in the NFL game, but I think there's a lot of carryover now. Doesn't seem a whole much different to me, at least from a defensive perspective, what those guys are required to do. You know, run and hit, cover people, tackle, right? Other than that, I think enough of the college game has leaked into the NFL now that you got to look at the same. I mean, it's got to be pretty consistent. That guys that can cover are at a premium, so it's a good thing at every level. Do you have thoughts on that, Griff?
I do like that he mentioned how the college game has leaked into the NFL. Like it's really, it's there's so much shotgun now. Like the average offensive lineman is going to be more well versed in protection than they were in past seasons. You've also got the comment about covering people just because there's more passing on average, so coverage is paramount. You see a lot more. I think, at least for safeties, like coverage has intersected enough, like lined up more. It's not the case with linebackers, though. That is truly, they're truly worlds apart at linebacker, college and the NFL. But like,
yeah, and he can't get into that. Well, he chose not to get into that, right?
Yeah. What did
There
you
would be a
think?
long answer, and I guess there's very kind of intricate detail and subtleties to it that I think are different. I found it interesting how he was saying about how the trickle up effect, like maybe college is slightly ahead. I think that's definitely true. Just, I mean, look at what Seattle's defense has been through in the last 4 years, like running bare fronts and nickel bare fronts, trying to kind of emulate what college did with tight stuff, and then going, okay, we need to be a bit more too high and all that type of stuff, to now running so much 4-down nickel over fronts that they've actually lost a lot of their kind of front multiplicity and variety. Like last year, they were so obvious in their front structure, really. Okay, they tried to move and change the picture a bit, but not enough.
Yeah.
And it's, I feel college football has more solutions when when they're trying to get pass rush, like the usage of different fronts, and the personnel is just different. So it's one thing doing that with just your NFL type players, like your NFL edges, your NFL linebackers, but it's another doing that in college where you've got lighter linebackers, you've got kind of safety types at linebacker. You may only have one stud edge rusher and the other guy doesn't exist. Yeah, I don't know. Interesting. I would have. It was interesting to me though, kind of scout brain, that he was like, nah, you just want guys who can run and hit and get to the ball and cover. And it's like, okay, you want guys who can play defense? Yeah, that's
Right.
And maybe we do overcomplicate it slightly. Whenever I'm trying, I know we're wanting to find that robot rep from a linebacker, but if they're not asked to do it, they're not asked to do it. So you just got to focus on, can they run, hit, and cover in the way that they're asked to do. Right. And then finally, Nolan Teasley, bringing us on to the scheme transition, was asked by Greg Bell of the Tacoma News Tribune about the scheme transition from from Pete Carroll to Macdonald. And Teasley, again, quite scout-brained. There's only so much football. There's going to be some intricacies and some changes to the scheme and system on both sides of the ball. But, again, there's only so much football. So you're really looking for productive, smart, tough, reliable, fast, physical football players regardless. And again, you get into the intricacies, you get into the specifics, and that doesn't take long. That's just a pretty natural conversation. So yeah, I don't see that being an issue. We're looking forward to it. A little bit of a change here and there, but I don't think it's going to be a stark contrast, but it's really positive and it's really exciting moving forward.
Yeah. If you take, basically saying there isn't enough schematic difference between recent Carroll years and Macdonald to merit scouting so differently. And even then, like you said, with all the change of the last 4 seasons, or from season to season, you can find Macdonald's scheme in those 4 seasons combined. And a lot of the players were on the team throughout those 4 years. So like really very little changes there other than you just have a different voice in the room to offer opinions. Like you said, there's only so much football.
Exactly. And the intricacies, we've observed the intricacies in the differences, but really where we've praised Macdonald the most isn't necessarily in his schematic structure. It's more in how he layers the play calls together, sequences it together, and has the right kind of recipe for each kind of game plan as well. So there you go. I spilled water on me. I don't think you guys can see that. Anyway, right. So that's the press conference. Anything else we need to cover from that, Griff?
No, I mean, beyond bringing up the posters in the hallway, I think we're good. Unless you wanted to circle back.
They mentioned, Teasley also mentioned he said we're truly nuanced at the safety position with Rayshon Jenkins, Kobe Bryant, Julian Love. I got the feeling that Kobe Bryant was his pick. Like the way
citation needed. Nuanced or redundant. See,
well, he was really spinning that as a versatility positive.
See, the flip side of redundancy is interchangeability, and I think that absolutely they are trying to be interchangeable, but I'm afraid that it's going to, in practice, be more redundant and going to be frustrating for Macdonald if they don't get another skill set type in there.
Yeah. Now, Teasley also spoke about the D-line. Kind of standard stuff, although there was one giveaway which stands out to me. He said Leonard Williams has ability to play up and down the line of scrimmage depending on the front and personnel, which is exactly what John Schneider's been saying. And I wonder if they're thinking of using him as like a two-gapper a bit more often than Seattle did, where Seattle, he came in midway through the season, they're running that same front so often. They're like, hey, you're a really good 3-tech, let's keep you 3-tech. We might see him do a bit more of solving issues by two-gapping, put him on a tackle, take away the C-gap area, take away the B-gap as well, that type of stuff. So that's interesting. But the thing which really stood out to me is he then went on to Draymond Jones. He said moving around Draymond Jones because of his ability off the edge, his ability to rush anywhere, and this is the bit which stood out to me, from the 3 to the 6, maybe even out to the 9.
Which is no different than how they used him last year, right?
Well, no, but the 6 technique is.
Oh, okay. So a true 6, yes.
Chat, that's how I presume that is, given Mike Macdonald, he does it like this. Head up on the tight end, which is that Brent Urban role we've been speaking about of a guy, or maybe what Leonard Williams could do of in nickel. They have a wide 9 technique, which they also said Jones could play, but they also have to the tight end side a guy who can play head up on the tight end in a different type of front, slightly different front, called flex, where that guy's playing head up on a tight end and two gapping on them. And so if that's how they envision Jones, we'll see.
But to be reductive, it's like inside outside. He's the tweener versatile guy that can be inside outside, and that is, again, to be reductive, how they also used him and with different specificities last year, but people didn't like that. And it's like,
no, last year he became an outside backup because they signed Leonard Williams, right? So, and they're playing so much 4 down nickel over fronts, which, I mean, it feels like they're going to do out of Jones this year. They need a way of getting more size onto the edge, and they didn't have that last year, even with Jones there. Maybe putting him head up on the tight end to the tight end side each time is the way of alleviating that. However, his combination block play, even his 2-gap play in general, I just don't think that's his game. I just don't like it.
If he can stay on a one-on-one, he's okay, but he's really not great at working over the block.
And it'd
Honestly,
be interesting if they said, like, hey, you can play at 270-ish pounds now and just become more of an edge for us.
and I think he would actually be a better pass rusher inside at 275 instead of 290, maybe 280. I think he really needs that quickness back. That means you can't play him inside on early downs. It has to be pure passing situations only, but he's not been the guy he was at OSU. And that was when I really went back and dove into his Denver tape when they signed him. And I realized, like, oh man, they overpaid. They really are not getting the player that I thought he was going to be and the player that I assumed he had been in Denver. So what we saw last year, it was not underperformance. That's what Draymond is. And the way Teasley talked about him, it's like they're not. It's more of the same, and we just kind of have to live with it. Which is still a useful player, but he's never going to live up to that contract, unless he does, and then I'll say he lived up to it, and I was wrong.
Well, they do kind of need just like a Clowney. No, he's not Clowney at all, but just in nickel having a big kind of outside backer is useful. Clowney's like 267, so they do definitely need that. So maybe that unlocks him more. You also think that could be what they're thinking about Mike Morris as well. Ask him to slim down again because he did get up to like 300 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, I would find Mike Morris trimmed back down to whatever lighter weight he truly played at. I'm intrigued by that because I think he can actually rush the passer on the edge. He's a good mover, you know. I would really like to see what he can do at a lighter weight on the edge. What little we did see of him inside though was pretty intriguing as a rotational.
Yeah, he was still learning a few things, but it looked like he was going to bring something, and his pass rush was interesting.
Yeah. So
okay, right. Enough of all that.
Let's get to the good stuff.
It's the mock draft. Air horns. So, Griff, are you happy to use the Pro Football Network simulator?
Yeah.
Chat, is this suitable? Would you like? Is this Zoom better?
Are we sticking and picking, or are we trading back?
Should we do two?
Sure. Let's do one where we stay and one where we trade back.
Yeah, well, it will depend on what offers we get. Because the cool thing about mock drafts, you can just keep going until you get the best one, right?
Are you saying they're not real?
Yeah, well, actually, Griff, they're very real, as you know. How realistic are you wanting to make this?
They're real to me. You know, how about this? Let's print out the best mock draft we do and then give it to VMAC personnel. They can put it on the wall.
I had a thought as well. What if they had an option to do it on real time, draft speed wise?
That would be cool.
That would be realistic for you, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So for the audio listener, we'll take a look at the trades offers in a second. Still on the board for the audio listener is Dallas Turner, edge out of Alabama. Audio listener. What are you going to do with audio? Just not listen. Watch it. I'm watching the audio. Idiot.
Try to visualize what we're saying.
Edge, Jared Verse. That's someone I need to talk to you about. We could do that. And then Washington offensive lineman Troy Fatanu.
Yep. As Matty drinks a sip of water. Oh, now it is epiglottis.
Amarius Mims, offensive tackle Georgia. Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver LSU. Jason Newton, D tackle Illinois. Byron Murphy as well, out of Texas. And then Chop Robinson, edge Penn State. And then, of course, Cooper DeJean is still there, out of Iowa. So it would be nice to be able to mix up the board a bit because it's always the same names around here, isn't it?
Yeah. So, Matty,
this is kind of dreamy, right?
Yeah, you've got a selection of some really high-quality players. Who do you think is BPA here? Who is the best player available? I mean, the short list is probably
Depends how you go. Depends how much you rate positional value when it comes to best player available, right? But
yeah.
I think Troy is probably the best player available, right?
It's either him or Mims,
Or
right? I
Mim.
agree.
Yeah, I just haven't.
Mims
Yeah,
won't be there. He won't be
I
there.
haven't. I haven't watched Mims because I know that he's very unlikely to be there. I mean, I say I haven't watched him. I've watched one game of his, but I know he's very unlikely to be there, and I know that the offensive tackle, like it'd be funny, but
Yeah.
last time we took him,
Right. Yeah.
and then chat was not happy.
See, I also think that Seattle wants Fatanu at 16. I mean, I know it's like too on the nose because UW, but I really feel like they really do want him. They know they can play him anywhere they need him. It just makes too much sense. It's the most
It's
important
crazy
spot.
how much he moved around on the tape.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's really the analog to like some of the squatty defensive guys, Murphy and Newton. He can really get under guys, and his feet are insane. So, I mean,
Hands are great.
hands are great. I mean, he's a legit. He's a dude. He makes them. I mean, he makes them better from where they are right now than any other player here. So I feel like it has to be Fatano. As much as I mean, my second choice would be Newton, and then my third choice would be Verse. Personally,
Yeah, so let's talk about Jared Verse because there's a chance that when we do this mock again, he's not there. So he was a guy. If it come out last year, some people were having him as a top 10 pick.
Verse.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really liked him last year. I was beside myself when he went back.
So what happened?
He's still really good, and he might have even had an even better season. I would be all over it. My main thought, the main reason why I'm not like it has to be Verse, he's the number one guy I want, is because they honestly just have a lot of guys at edge. Like, what happens if Derek Hall has a Boye Mafe-esque second year? Now you've got three guys that can give you 8+ sacks and a high
Yeah.
pressure rate and
Yeah.
good run defense, assuming he improves. So then you take Verse with that. That's like, what do you do? Trade
Yeah.
Nwosu
Because
eventually? Or?
Verse also, he's not the type of edge who you could be like, hey, we're trying to get you more snaps and ask you to play a bit inside. Like he's not going to do that, right?
Yeah.
And then in a similar way, you in base, if you're trying to get him more snaps, are you going to be able to ask him to drop into pass coverage if you're playing like an outside backer? I don't think so, right? He's not.
Yeah.
I haven't seen stuff from him which suggests he could cover.
Yeah. And
So
hmm.
what about Dallas Turner out of Alabama? Because I could see him falling, and again, he's someone who ahead of the season I was quite excited to see what he'd put together.
I'm just underwhelmed by him. I don't think he has the play strength. When guys put bodies on him, when tackles really put their body on him, he's really not doing much with it. He's got to win with get off. And the thing is, like, it's similar-ish to Robinson, but what Turner has going for him is he has moves. It's just he needs to have so much depth on the tackle. He has to have them so off balance in order for those moves to work, because he doesn't have the play strength to like turn a hard corner, basically. So, and then also, yeah, Misfit says in the chat, the run defense, like he's not giving you. I mean, he's a good run defender for his weight, but again, Seattle is going to be spending so much time in 4-down nickel. And with the 2-eye shell, you're really placing a lot of stress on each of those four guys. You need your edges to make a difference. To take an edge in the first, that guy has to be a complete player. They have to be good at really good at everything. Because we saw what a crisis of edge play did for the defense last year.
And that would, if you thought Verse was the dude, then that would be the argument to take him. But we don't think he's that level of dude.
Yeah.
Along with the op jam element.
Yeah, if Verse was Will Anderson, then Sure. No, I don't care.
So before we basically take Troy Fatanu, we have some trade offers. So let's pick up the phone. Washington is calling up. Are you, Griff? Are you unhappy with the realism here? Washington's offering pick 36, pick 40, pick 67 for Seattle's pick 16 and pick 81.
That's quite interesting, isn't it? Actually, 36 and 40.
Yeah, I quite like that.
I wonder what the trade value conversion charts have that as.
How would you find that?
I don't know. Can you do that?
You could. You could.
Let's you know what? Let's accept this time. And then
well, hold on. Okay, yeah. The other offer is the 49ers taking the Mickey, the George Michael.
Yeah, let's take this. Let's do it.
Okay, we're going to accept it. Chat can let us know the trade value chart because Griff didn't get the hint that he should have checked it.
Yeah, I was too lazy.
Yeah. Okay, so we've obviously missed out on quite a few players. That's we could have done ourselves in here. We may have got a bit too cute. So,
I mean, passing up a blue chip in Fatano is probably dumb, but
yeah, but
I don't think they're staying at 16, bro.
It's very hard to envision that. But at the same time, John Schneider on radio, he goes, hey, in the draft, there's about 15 to 20 first rounders. He said that before as well, but he was kind of asked about it again. And, at 16, you're going to get, like with the quarterbacks who are going to go, and Schneider's saying also how the draft, you can kind of slot the quarterbacks in, then in the teams it gets a bit more unpredictable. But you're going to get that. We think that Fatanu's a blue chip player. Now, maybe he does go earlier. Maybe someone else falls, but someone else is falling. So it is quite the decision, even though they've kind of scuppered themselves with getting Sam Howell and then not just Sam Howell. Got to remember Leonard Williams came via the second round pick. So, right, Griff. So pick 36. We've picked up pick 67 and pick 40 as well. Now, I actually tend to not really like this part of the draft when it comes to sort of late, like very late 30s to like 50s. It gets a bit scary to me. And that's just off Pro Football Network's big board of players, right? So we don't know. But
yeah, it's actually a little disturbing, isn't it? BB would have been a good pick here.
Now, we're going to do guards tomorrow, but would they take BB? Because why I ask that is because he has under 32-inch arms. He's very short-armed. I know he's good at gap blocking, and in Kansas State they did a lot of that, right? But would they take someone like BB?
I don't know. I don't know what Huff's specifications are like. I mean, I think he can reach people in zone. They're not going to be running as much outside zone anyway. It's going to be more like, inside zone. And then, of course, some gap counter power changeup. He can protect, though. That's where my mind goes. He'll keep the pocket firm. But
right, so you're doing this from your perspective of guys you can protect.
Yeah.
So yeah, is that what we're doing? We're doing it for our perspective, not John Schneider's.
Well, I think we're trying to combine it, right?
Yeah.
Do we think they go? Go ahead.
Well, because we've got some options here that I don't know how much Schneider in terms of the guards. We mentioned how BB, who's just been taking the pick before, maybe isn't a Seahawk type player, but there's also two other options that I wonder if Seattle is interested in them just for the one, guard in the second round. Would they do that? But two, just their style of play. So Jordan Morgan out of Arizona, who did play a lot of tackle, but I think he's more of a guard at the next level. I know Brandon Thorne, who's basically the guy for offensive line stuff. You should check him out if you haven't already. But he thinks he should convert from tackle because of just his issues out in space and opening his hips and oversetting and all that type of stuff. He also had a torn ACL before the 2023 season, so he's got that on there. And then Christian Haynes-Griff is, he's more Seahawky in that he's finishing guys. Had a really good Senior Bowl. That's Seahawky,
Yeah.
but he's less Seahawky in that I think all of his starts for UConn, and he's an old as well. But all of his starts came at right guard, and they tend to like a bit of versatility. But in terms of like a nasty guard he's got the arm length, he's got the run blocking abilities and smarts. Haynes is probably someone I'd eye up.
Yeah. He I feel like it's a little high for him. I would maybe take him at 40. I think that he can give up the outside a little bit in protection.
Yes. Yeah.
But you're playing with fire there. Zach Frazier is interesting.
And also the discussion of, I know he played some left guard and center at the Senior Bowl, but where's Seattle's hole right now? I mean, if you're thinking Anthony Bradford takes a bit of a leap, he's also not a rookie anymore. Yeah, he was a 4th round pick, and yeah, he had some real pass pro issues. And you probably want to come out of this with at least 2 guards. But left guard is the real kind of. You got some vets there, but they're like old vets who are on close to the vet minimum. Yeah. So sorry, Griff, I cut you off.
No. I don't think Jordan Morgan is cut out to be a guard convert.
You don't?
I don't. I mean, do you? If you do, by all means.
Well, you're disagreeing with Brandon Thorne.
Oh, okay. If Thorne thinks
That's what did you not just listen to me? That's what I just said.
I think I actually glossed right over that. I'm sorry, because I was looking at the rest of the board.
Yeah.
And then I was also looking at the draft value charts.
Oh,
so,
right.
But if you think Morgan can do it.
I don't know. I don't really like him, to be honest. So
yeah, I think it was more that I just wasn't really a fan of him in general.
Yeah. So we're a bit stuck here because another name is Tyler Nubin, who we watched in our Forbidden Safety episode. Check it out on Twitter. I just don't. I'd taken him in the 2nd round. This high. No, I can't do that.
You can't even take him in the 2nd.
You want to take him in the 1st?
No. I'm saying you won't even take Nubin in the 2nd.
Not at 36.
That's still too rich for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So Matty, who's
safety?
The best?
Safeties don't matter, Griff. Don't you remember?
Who's the best player here? What about quarterback? Do they go quarterback?
Well, you want to take Michael Penix.
This is so Arif Hassan puts together a consensus board where he takes 75 public-facing draft boards.
Great content.
It's great. And Penix's overall, the consensus on Penix is that he's an early 2nd-round pick. So this idea that he's a surefire 1st-round pick is, I'm sorry, that's very much a Seattle area-centric view. The rest of the draft world views him as a high 2nd-rounder. I don't know what teams will view him as, but that's where everyone else thinks. So 36 could be a good spot for him if you're a Penix guy. Now, I'm not a Penix guy, so it's kind of moot. But Matty, you watched him, as have I. Would you take Penix at 36? How would you feel about that?
Depends how badly you need a quarterback.
Well, the Seahawks, their situation with Geno is up in the air.
Well, you know how I feel about Geno, so I wouldn't do it.
I wouldn't do it either.
Can we get a guard? Can we protect our quarterback? Damn it.
Yeah. All right, just take Christian Haynes. Let's just take Christian Haynes and see. How would you feel about Nubin at 40 after already taking Haynes?
About Nubin? At 40?
You're so offended by that.
Can we just take Junior Colson at 40?
All right, let's take Haynes here and see what's there.
Okay. Are we sure about this? Chat.
No.
Chat, rate the pick out of 10. 10 being high. Now, also, chat, I should explain. When we rate things out of 10, it's very important to me that 5 is actually average, okay? I don't want you doing 7 for average because some people are sick. Thank you. Well, Penix is still here, Griff. So there you go. That's a shame. Darius Robinson went. I like Darius Robinson.
That's too bad. Let's look at defense really quick. Let's look at D-line.
Oh. Where did
Is Hall gone?
No.
No, he's still there.
Yeah.
Okay,
I like Michael Hall.
So we have Hall. Let's look at linebacker.
What on earth? Should we try and wait until the 3rd round for Colson?
He might drop.
We have pick 67.
Oh yeah, let's roll the dice and see if Colson's there.
Yeah, then you can get on your Jordan McGee wagon.
There we go. All right. Now what about safety? Bullard, Matty, how would you feel about Bullard at 40?
40?
You're so reactive.
I don't know. That is rich.
But why? He's a good player and he tested really well.
He's a good player. Good player. But what's his standout trait?
I mean, it's see the thing with me is like what makes him such a good player is that he's got it all. Like it's when your technique is good and you're a good athlete and you play above your weight, that adds up to value.
Yeah.
And we're talking 2nd round here.
No ceiling.
You don't think he has a ceiling?
No, he does. I'm just they do need that nickel type safety. Again, we spoke about him in this safety discussion.
I think he can play all 3 spots.
It just feels early to me
All right, so then do you want to go D-line then? Go D-line then. Let's take our guy.
Okay, cool. Now on Mr. Hall, who we're going to take at pick 40. He, interestingly, via Sumo Sports and Stats Bomb Football, his time to pressure was 3 seconds, which was significantly quicker than any of the other like D tackles which they selected. So like way quicker than Jason Newton, which there's a lot of context to his situation. Quicker than Byron Murphy the second as well. Now his pressure rate was or what is that? Proximity pressure rate? No, just pressure rate. His pressure rate was just slightly down, but it's just interesting. Like when he flashes big. So and he'll win quick. Okay. What are you typing away, Griff? Are you upset?
Nope.
Okay. I hope not.
Okay, so
we're doing that Michael Hall.
We're doing Michael Hall. Boom.
Oh no.
There goes our
Yeah.
Reject. Bullard gone. If Leonard Taylor goes in the top 60, my God. Cedric Gray gone.
Yes!
All right, so Colson, right? Is Newman still there?
What is...
I'm just curious.
No, he went, sadly. No.
Okay, so Junior Colson.
Griff, this is going well.
This is going okay.
What? What's up? What's wrong? What's upset you?
I'm really not too fond of Haynes early on, but that's okay.
Oh.
So Matty Junior, everyone knows that we like Colson the most, the linebackers. But
yeah.
Well, what's your take on Trevin Wallace?
Well, we've spoke a lot about him, but I think because he's a player that inspires discussion, right? Because it's almost frustrating because you see the flashes and you see the athletic ability and you see him almost do things and you get glimpses of what it could be like and then it just doesn't happen. I think I would really want to get to know what the person and like what type of learner is he? How are you going to coach him? Does he, is he has he had poor coaching for his learning style? Is he slower to grasp things, but once you get him to grasp things, he's going to get it? Does he benefit from being in an NFL defense? Whereas I don't know what, I just don't have enough awareness of what Kentucky was running, and how much continuity they had from year to year scheme wise, game to game scheme wise.
I would say that they're running pretty much NFL concepts.
Oh yeah, no, but I more meant year to year. How much are they changing?
Sure. See, with me, I think that he is right way more than a lot of the other linebackers. He's just not right quick enough for my liking.
Yeah. And he's in that, unlike some of the linebackers, he's in that type of defense where it really shows it.
Yeah.
Like you're getting the opportunities for him to show that he's got it in an NFL way, and he doesn't do it enough.
Yeah.
Along with the Senior Bowl where he did the same stuff, like his keys were god awful, and he's not doing the things that you'd want to see. So
he's strangely lacking urgency. It's hard to explain. Like, I'm not saying he's low effort, but it's like, does he recognize that he needs to react?
Yeah, it's like a understanding of the importance of it.
Forthright. Yeah. But he's still showing like echelons more of a floor than like Trotter, for example. Like, I just have no idea what Trotter's doing. I don't.
Yeah, no, I don't get that. Yeah. So Junior Colson, a lot of people's linebacker one. This board has.
Can we talk about Colson's potential? Like,
that's a really interesting topic, right? Because obviously he didn't do any testing, even at his pro day. I think he had a hamstring issue. So, but like just speed wise, you're not sure if he's ever gonna be. Like, is he ever gonna be an all pro? Then that comes down to how much you think you can coach him and like what kind of what scheme you put him in. But he hasn't got like the reason he's not a first round pick, regardless of what big board you're using, and I think he gets taken higher in the third round. But the reason he's not a first round pick is he doesn't have that glitzy speed and stuff. Not that he doesn't have range in his game. He also doesn't have as many glitzy coverage reps because of they didn't ask him to play in the weak hook and robot.
Well, there are some examples.
But not like with speed of 3. There's not. Not like the crazy stuff.
Yeah, the absolute peak trait. My thing though is, I think athletically he checks off every box from meeting a threshold perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which like you can't say about Edgerrin Cooper. Like, Cooper checks off some boxes very well, but then he doesn't check off some other boxes at all athletically.
Well, and even and that then leads on to, like, you see that on his tape. Like, he can't take contact on properly. He's too high. He can't redirect properly.
With Colson, though, go ahead.
Yeah, well, Colson can do those things very well.
Right. So with Colson and the concept of potential, like you said, like the super glitzy stuff, the raw high-end speed, if we just use kind of precedence as our measuring stick, like some people have said he could be Nick Bolton, which is just like a fine player who kind of does a jack of all, master of none. And that might be the case for him. But there are 2 linebackers out there that are around his size, his density, his movement skills, and they're only 4'6" guys. And what makes them top 10 linebackers is just they're being right more often than not, just their assignment correctness, awareness, the ability to diagnose and get in the right spots. So, and those 2 guys are Demario Davis and CJ Mosley. And so with Colson, it's like how good he can be is his potential doesn't have to be capped by the fact that he probably runs a 4.6, even though he didn't test. and his three cone is probably like a 7.2. His potential doesn't have to be capped by those things. His potential is going to be capped by like how much is he going to progress. And everyone at Michigan said that each year he got considerably better. He still is wrong occasionally, still has mental errors, but he still does a lot right.
Yeah,
I'd be willing to bet on that and just see like, hey, how far if Macdonald is a linebacker whisperer, I'd like to see how far he can take Colson.
Yeah, no, his play recognition and diagnosis was really pretty impressive. He gets to the foot. He's in and around the football. He gets to the play. He makes plays.
Yeah.
I mean, just watching the college. I hadn't watched much college football this past year, but watching the national championship, seeing Colson, and I tweeted out at the time like, who is what was he 25? I can't remember. But I was like, Michigan 25, draft him. And I didn't even know if he's draft eligible. And then I was like, oh, he's coming out this year. Fantastic. That's the guy. Like,
yeah,
just making all the plays, running genuine sideline to sideline. It's like a tank out there.
He's a real linebacker.
Yeah. So, and in a world where real linebackers there's a sparsity in this draft and just in the league.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll pick him.
Boom.
So we obviously traded. That was with pick 67 that we took Colson. Now we're at pick 102 in the fourth round.
So can we look at our picks really quick that we've taken?
So we've drafted Christian Haynes, guard out of UConn, Michael Hall Jr., defensive tackle out of Ohio State, and Junior Colson, linebacker from Michigan. We still have remaining pick 102, pick 118, pick 179, pick 192, pick 235.
So my mind jumps to safety, but then I also think about offense. Should they go offense?
Right, because we're quite defensive heavy. Now, in terms of offense, the quarterbacks who are interesting in terms of there's a lot of interesting stuff on the tape of Spencer Rattler. He's been drafted. So the next guy up would be Michael Pratt, which, yeah.
I'm good. Too bad Rattler just went. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, he went the pick before us to the Panthers. Wow, why would they? Anyway.
That's perfect for Dave Canales, though. Like, that's perfect.
You like any receivers take your fancy here?
Yeah, I mean, Burton is crazy talented, but he has some off-field stuff where apparently he just like, I don't know. It's not like he's getting into trouble, but he just isn't learning the playbook type thing. But he gets open. He's good. Like, some people say that he's as talented as the big three in this class.
Wow.
But the production doesn't follow.
Right. So then it's like, why hasn't it followed?
Right. I do like Javon Baker. I think he's a third rounder. But I really do hope they can come away with a receiver.
Okay. And then offensive line-wise, Mason McCormick, super athletic out of South Dakota State. I mean, good luck getting the All-22 for them, right? But he was good at the Shrine Bowl, and he could do some center. He's long.
Yeah. That might be a worthwhile pick, but also if there's a safety you really like that's there, like Matty, would you take Hicks at 102? He's probably gone though.
Oh, yeah. So the safety names now are not that attractive. I need to watch more of Evan Williams out of Oregon because I know he had a Senior Bowl invite and there's some movement stuff which is intriguing enough. Malik Mustafa, he could be a big nickel, Griff.
Yeah.
We need to watch Wake Forest. I don't have the tape, so. But I've watched their games. He can run, he can hit. I just don't know what he like. Can he cover in his own?
I think that he can.
Okay.
But what you don't see enough of from Wake Forest is like what is his quarters like, and then his half field stuff, cover two
Right.
stuff. It's just he doesn't get enough examples of plays that like are informative, but the traits are there. The traits are truly there. So I could stomach him at 102, but I feel like they should double dip at guard. I would almost
Okay. So should we take McCormick?
do McCormick.
Small school. We also had on the borders Isaiah Adams out of Illinois and Zach Zinter out of Michigan. Zinter I spoke about before.
I'm not a fan of Zinter, to be honest.
He's hurt as well. And then Adams really struggled at the Senior Bowl to the point that I would be alarmed. And I think before that he was getting higher talk than this. So we'll take McCormick. So now we're at pick 118.
I feel like you got to go Mustafa here.
Yep.
Playing with
So
fate.
where does he play? You just hope that he can do some quarters and.
I mean, he's fast enough. Like any safety that is fast enough should be able to play cover two shell. Like that's so
Yeah.
like you got to be able to.
I mean, he did a bit of that at the Senior Bowl. Okay, his problem at Senior Bowl is just like he doesn't know what he's doing in man coverage.
Which is.
But like you should be able to coach that up a bit.
Yeah. And he could be when they play man, he could be like the whole player. You know, if they don't want him being true, marked up 1-on-1.
But when we call him a big nickel, am I kind of overstating that because he's only 209 pounds, 5'10". Like, is he is he like a Kayvon Wallace, like get Kayvon Wallace out of here type guy?
Maybe 210 at 5'10" though is
it's dense, yeah.
Yeah,
and he flies to the ball.
Yeah.
Okay, and I know people have mentioned Dajon Taylor Demerson from Texas Tech. He is literally you're just drafting a project guy. He can run. It's not really his fault necessarily because they're quite versatile, but he's so raw. Like just the safety stuff, which he'll have to do in the NFL. He's so raw. I just don't. That's not. And he's more of a deep guy, which Seattle needs. But I just don't think. Like I'd rather have Jarek Reed getting the snaps rather than him in year one. So then why are you taking that at 118? You know.
Yeah.
All right. So Mustafa. Good name as well. We've taken a lot of seniors.
Hey, we are in the minds of John Schneider, aren't we?
Yeah.
Sukman asked, what do you guys think of Wingo? Yeah, I really like him. I think Wingo is...
Full name and school, Griff?
Makai Wingo, LSU, DT. They played a lot of 2I, but he projects as a 3 technique. Bursty, explosive, agile. I mean, he's really like it goes... If you miss out on Newton or Murphy, you've got Hall, and then the next guy you take if you want an explosive guy is Ororo, and then the next guy you take is Wingo. If you're really wanting a guy that you think has a chance to bring juice from the inside. And he's a complete player too. He's good against the run.
Right, and compared to like a row, like Rook is such a like it's such a tricky eval because of how he's used, and also just the stopping the feet. Like I'd rather take the sound football player, you know.
Yeah, I understand that.
Okay, but anyway, what are we doing here?
What's there at edge? Saber. Muhammad Kamara is pretty interesting. Gabriel Murphy is interesting. Depth pass rushers. Kamara can really rush. Kamara.
He can?
Yeah.
And you need these types of guys on kickoff teams.
True that.
Okay, you want to take him? I haven't watched Colorado State.
Yeah, but then what about corner? We can't completely neglect corner. Any of these guys do anything for you?
No. I haven't watched any of these guys.
Not even Jaden Davis, who I've just learned the existence of as of 4 seconds ago.
I don't see him. Where is he?
You just passed him, 303 or something, 302. Who's just real quick out of due diligence? Who's left at safety? Oh, they visited with Quantez Stiggers, right?
Right. That seemed to me like a UDFA visit, but maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan Watts is an interesting dude, but that's more like a 6th, 7th round.
Isn't he a corner though?
Yeah, it depends. He got played at corner in the Shrine Bowl, and I think he played some corner.
I remember him at corner if he's 29 for Texas. I remember thinking he was a good player. So Dominique Hampton, athlete, but like you said, kind of a mess of a player. Nor am I. So who's the best player available? Tight end, McLaughlin, Merritt. I mean, it's probably Liufau. He's probably the best player available.
Really? I mean, I really like him as a player. He's like the first guy. It's like, oh, he can play football. But
I mean, we're at round 5 at this point,
Round 6.
Round 6.
Well, I want to take this Mohamed Kamara.
All right, let's do it.
Because you've mentioned him. You're like, ooh.
All right, let's do it.
You come on, give me a sentence to pitch him.
He has good get off, good arc speed, and he can corner.
Okay,
he's a speed rusher that actually knows how to corner. It's not just all speed running around.
Fantastic.
Right. Although if I had to guess, they probably prioritize Gabriel Murphy over him, but that's just what I would do. Okay. Christian Boyd, he's a real player. One technique, 2 eye.
I can see that.
And he can bull rush.
So we've already taken a D tackle, but with Michael Hall, the vision would be that you'd free up Reed to play some big end, possibly, or Leonard Williams to move around more, and then, Boyd wouldn't necessarily. Yeah, I don't know. You're getting a bit of a log jam on the interior if you do that.
Yeah, true.
Like but what happens to Cam Young?
We're also talking about a 6th-round pick, though, where it just doesn't matter.
Okay.
Offense tight end though, McLaughlin. He's a freaky athlete. Tip
he's a
Ryman,
freaky athlete.
6'5", 245. That's good size.
Tip Ryman, I don't understand what people are seeing with his run blocking. Okay, he's told to run block, so he's doing his assignment, but he's 6'7". Well, he's not 6'7". He plays like he's 6'7". His pad levels are appalling.
So McLaughlin then.
Okay, but
Matty, is it just me, or do you ever accidentally confuse Tanner McLaughlin with the actor? What's the guy's name? Kyle McLaughlin. Do you ever confuse them, or is it just me?
What about Sarah?
Is that the arms of an angel lady?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you missed that. Anyway, right? Should we take? Well, I've never watched Tanner McLaughlin in my life. Is he Gronk? He's from Arizona. Is he Gronk?
Yeah, he's 6'5", 245, ergo Gronk. People think there's something there. I haven't watched them. So take him, 6th-round pick. Okay. Oh, you know what? I have watched him because I've watched the Arizona offense. I totally forgot. I remember thinking their tight end actually does stuff.
Fantastic. And it's continuing Pete Carroll in Seattle.
You know what I remember is that he's a true Y, but he actually gets out of his 3-point stance really quickly and fluidly for a guy of like his stature. He plays above his weight. So
I'm sold. Is that your laptop telling you need to charge it?
Yeah, my battery will die in about 10 minutes. So,
okay, let's do this one. Last pick. So we've picked Christian Haynes, Michael Hall, Junior Colson, Mason McCormick, Malik Mustafa, Mohamed Kamara, Tanner McLaughlin, and finally, right. Well, this is the chance to take a swing, Griff. We haven't done any skill positions really.
Yeah.
So wide receiver wise, any of these guys?
Gold sticks out. Speedster. They're going to take a corner, I think. Damani Richardson. Oh, Jalen Simpson, Matty.
Oh, yeah. You want me to tell? Jalen Simpson was Why did you mention his name, Griff?
Well, because he's a name.
Oh, he was at the Senior Bowl, and he was the only guy who was step kicking. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's step kicking, and he was quite good. And then I was like, oh, he's actually like really slow, and he's patient, but I think he has really short arms. And he's 179 pounds, so it's just not a thing. Maybe as a like UDFA. I mean, we're in the 7th round, but
right.
No, I'm wrong. He has really long arms, 32 and 3/8. It's just the fact he's 179 pounds. He did have a 4.45 second 40. Good technique. Good technique.
It's all very interesting.
But I would have thought he was almost a corner. They've got him down as a safety. If Seattle still ran their thing, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, John said they kind of value the exact same thing at corner.
Would you say, if this is our only draft, seeing what the time is, should we take McGee because then we can talk about him?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, McGee.
Yeah.
So I think they should double up at linebacker anyway.
Well, perfect. We're great at this, aren't we? So why do you like Jordan McGee?
I think in space he is the best mover in the class of linebackers. And then not only that, like he has coverage traits because they manifest as cover skills too. Like he's actually good in coverage, like unequivocally. He honestly might be the best cover linebacker in the class. He can turn and run with guys, no problem. He understands what offenses are doing to him. The only concern and something that you've mentioned is quality of opponent, but like he knows where the play action windows are. He knows where the dig route windows are, the bender route windows are, and up the seam and stuff. And he can straight up just turn and run with guys that are running 4-4. He takes good angles, like he can diagnose quickly. I think playing the run, he knows what he's doing. It's just 230 gets swallowed up.
Yeah,
but I think his frame can put on weight too.
He's a guy who you'd mentioned him very briefly to me, and he plays with Temple, right? So all respect to Temple, but I hadn't got around to watching him. But then when I watched him, and again with Temple, watching the all 22 is more difficult. But when I got some all 22 and watched him, I was messaging Griff like, why didn't like what did you actually think of him? Because this guy looks really damn good. Like,
yeah, I mean,
tell me to watch him. Like, he's got more about it. Now he's playing against North Texas, so level of comp's a concern. But he has 32-inch long arms, which for a short guy's fine. And he ran a 4.55 second 40, and it all shows up on tape. All of the movement stuff shows up on tape. Solid jumps as well, and he runs and hits. He actually runs and hits to the ball as Griff's laptop dies. So that leaves me to talk about Jordan McGee. Now, I put together a coverage cut-up of him because I was so kind of enamored by what I was seeing. Like, he is... The only reason that he is down there as a 7th round pick, and maybe he goes higher, but the only reason I could think of is just the level of comp concern. And it's a real shame that he didn't get invited to the, some of the... Griff's back. It's a real shame that he didn't get invited to some of the All-Star events or the Senior Bowls or, that type of stuff, because it would have been cool to see him against the higher level of competition. In terms of someone who runs, hits, and then can redirect in coverage, there's a few missed tackles, but I think it's stuff you can clean up. But he's a really interesting player, and kind of what he looks like, they played him a lot in the middle. You might call it a Mike, but what he looks like is Mike Macdonald Will, like the prototypical Will.
Yeah.
And he wore number 6 at Temple, which is what they give to their, alpha, best leader, best defensive player.
Interesting. What Temple does, or
Temple.
interesting? I didn't know that.
They always say that whenever, I think Reddick used to wear it.
Interesting. Well, it's good that they thought that internally too. I had him as my 6th best linebacker in the class. So, I mean, I think 4th round would be the sweet spot for him. I have Colson, Ford, Cooper, Gray, Barrett, McGee, and then Trevin Wallace. Then Peyton Wilson, Ulofoshio, Lufau, Curtis Jacobs, Muosau. God, I'm butchering their names. Sorry about that. Still Chambers, then Trotter, Eichenberg, Hopper, Nathaniel Watson, Knight. But McGee is really, really, really interesting. So, I mean, he's too good at coverage to like dismiss. No matter like if you thought his run defense was horrible, you still couldn't dismiss him because his coverage is that good.
Yeah, and his run defense isn't, and he's also helped because he's playing in largely a bare front, so you don't get to see too much. But I like how he gets to the ball. I really do.
Yeah, I hate this because like I don't really care if a linebacker is a good blitzer or not, but he is a good blitzer. That said, so
yeah, and I think something we've said it before. We're going to repeat ourselves, but I think something Macdonald's going to look for from linebackers, heck, even safeties, and which we've already seen show up in free agency, is they have to have been able to do, like, shown that they're versatile and been used in a lot of different things and been comfortable enough doing that. So down at the line, different types of zone drops, bit of man, bit of when I say down at the line, I mean mugging, sugaring a gap and then dropping out into coverage, or blitzing, just blitzed from off the ball, a bit of everything. And I think, obviously you like that on every person's tape, whatever your team, but I think it's something that a Macdonald tree of defense covets slightly more than, the previous system. So,
right.
And I think McGee has some of that. He has enough of that, especially in the 7th round. So, okay. Well, that's a mock draft. I think that went slightly better than our last one. Griff, though, realism-wise, are you unhappy?
I think this is pretty realistic. Honestly, it's not perfect. It's solid.
Would Colson in the 3rd round not shock you?
I'd be shocked if he actually fell to the 3rd because of scarcity.
Yeah, that's what I think. And just sort of how obvious he is, but maybe the lack of testing, and maybe the lack of testing and the more kind of traitsy players, higher athletic players, maybe push him down slightly. I don't know. It would seem kind of crazy.
Yeah. I kind of want McGee and Devin Witherspoon's energy on the field at the same time. They're both high octane personalities. Anyway.
No, well, that's another plus point. So, on a similar vein, okay, I've spoke about level of comp and maybe lack of exposure for McGee, but would the 7th round shock you a bit for him?
Oh yeah. I think his combine, someone might even overdraft him because of the combine. Maybe.
Right, because ultimately, can you rely on him to play special teams? Yes, surely. So
I could see him going in the 3rd. I think he probably goes in the 4th. So.
Right. So, just to recap, we took offensive guard Christian Haynes out of UConn, Michael Hall Jr., defensive tackle out of Ohio State at pick 40, Junior Colson, linebacker Michigan, pick 67, Haynes was pick 36. Mason McCormick, offensive guard, South Dakota State, pick 102. Malik Mustafa, safety, Wake Forest, pick 118. Mohamed Kamara, edge, Colorado State, pick 179. Tanner McLaughlin, tight end, Arizona, pick 192. And Jordan McGee, linebacker, Temple, pick 235. The trade we executed was with the Washington Commanders. We gave pick 16 and pick 81 for pick 36, pick 40, 2 second-round picks, higher ones, and pick 67 of third-rounder. So our first and our fourth for 2 seconds high up and a high up third. Washington took Amarius Mims, the tackle out of Georgia, at pick 16, and safety Jaden Hicks from Washington State at pick 81. So interesting seeing how that shook out. We got Haynes, Hall Jr., and Colson with our 3 picks. Griff, any closing thoughts, wisdom? Is this the one you're sending into the VMAC?
I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it. If that's what has to be done, I wouldn't hate it. So.
He wouldn't hate it.
I wouldn't hate it.
Griff, you know, there's too much hate in the world.
True that.
I mean, just look at the reaction to just a simple taking down of wallpaper.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, that caused pain, but hate? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know anything.
Goodbye, everybody. Please do like the show, subscribe to the channel, comment down below what you want to see from us tomorrow. No, Sunday. Griff, can you do Sunday?
Yeah, later in the day.
I know. Yeah. I know Griff is a VIP. Sunday we will have offensive guards tape. Although we try not to do too much tape, otherwise we'll get blocks. But we're going to have a whole offensive guards episode. We can dive more into why Griff was a bit scared about Christian Haynes at 36. Have a look at some of those issues and, you know, wax lyrical about Troy Fatanu and all that good stuff as well. So that'll be a fun episode.
Matty, what is your favorite animal?
Oh, you know what? I'm quite partial to a penguin.
All right. Yeah, penguins are tight.
Now, the problem with penguins is they stink of fish. They're dirty little fishy boys.
Have you smelled penguins?
Yeah, you know, see, I don't think it's necessarily the penguin, but the food that they're eating at the zoo is obviously fish, and it's very stinky, and it's like lying out, and they're not even eating some of it, and they're probably not giving the penguins, you know, it's the London Zoo, so you would hope they'd be getting the finest fish, but I imagine they're getting fish guts. Yeah,
sure. Yeah. No, I like penguins. I've really developed an fascination for generalists. Like, I think badgers, the whole badger family are generalists. Like, they're just so adaptable to their environment. Raccoon. So, all right, my favorite.
Well, hold on now. Do you know the problem with badgers?
Well, they can be really ornery.
Really what?
Ornery. Really ornery. Aggressive, violent, territorial. Right.
They carry tuberculosis.
Oh. Well, I hope that they get medicine for that.
There's a whole campaign in this country to cull them.
Really? Do you guys have badgers just running around on the English?
Oh yeah, side? Yeah. Well, we did.
Dang, that's terrible. You guys, because you're on an island, you guys really just like exterminate, don't you?
Well, this bovine tuberculosis was killing a lot of cows.
Oh, I wonder what the ground zero cause of the problem was. Other generalists, raccoons are cool.
I've just told you what the problem was.
And then corvids are amazing. Wait, no. But how did they get the tuberculosis? Like, well, why is that a problem? Is there something else in the environment?
I don't know. I just know that they killed more than 210,000 badgers were killed, which for a small island is quite a lot. And 330,000 cattle were died as well.
That's terrible. All right.
But now the government then decided to try and vaccinate the badgers, which you'd
There
think
we
would have
go.
been the first. Like, why are we?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like you gotta like what? Tranquilize them and then do it.
I don't know. You could shoot them with it. Shoot them with the vaccine.
Is that a
Teach
thing?
young boys how to shoot a moving target
Mm,
by
mm,
solving bovine tuberculosis, and
mm.
and girls, young boys and girls. Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting,
Okay.
Matty. Anyway, have a good one. Goodbye. Hit it.